Hello everyone, this is the first episode of Bside Podcast. My name is Jakub Żurawiński and we're going to discuss business, blockchain and Bitcoin. I'm super excited because my first guest is Leszek Bartosik. Leszek, it's great to have you.
I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much. Leszek, for you to get to know him a little better, he's an investor, he's been traveling and living in different countries throughout his life, and he's ex-Big Four consultant. So I'm going to discuss a lot of those topics, so stay tuned. Okay, let's start. Leszek, maybe would you mind just starting off with telling us a bit more about your journey and traveling, and why did you decide to actually end up in UAE?
Sure. So I think I always have an inclination to come to some Eastern countries from the Europe perspective. I think the first love to the region started from me being on a student exchange program in Istanbul. So I kind of experienced the freedom, the food, student life, but also the life of the locals, and that inspired me and convinced me to explore further. Later on, I worked, as you said, as a Big Four consultant. So I traveled throughout I traveled throughout the sector from Estonia to Croatia, doing various projects, and that also kind of opened me and widened my horizons. So then, working at Big Four, I was applying for different jobs, and eventually I got an offer from Dubai and then Abu Dhabi. That offer was very lucrative, as you may imagine. So eventually I moved in with my wife, and my wife also she has already multinational exposure. She is not from Poland, she is Ukrainian, so everything about me, I think, is saying multinational.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect description. So if you compare those days business-wise, Dubai or Middle East versus Europe, what are the biggest differences that you observe as you had this incredible experience working with big firms and big businesses? What are the main challenges maybe at the same time on the cultural level, business level, financial level?
So that's absolutely right. The biggest, let's say, discrepancy or the biggest difference is cultural. So how do you communicate with other people? How people perceive time? How people speak about themselves, and what is the acceptable nature and level or depth or direction where you head with certain, let's say, level of relationship, or what you talk about on different levels. Usually it starts with connecting between two guys. That's the usual business here, and then you kind of go deeper. So coming from the Slavic countries, we usually tend to gather over some nightcaps or night drinks, and then have a discussion there, get to know each other better. In here, you do it with coffee, and local coffee is also a bit different. But okay, let's not about coffee now.
I know this is your hobby, and this is your
stuff.
passion. So I think a separate podcast would be great just for the coffee part.
Yeah, that could be true. So I'll stop here and let's park it for now. So then the time is flowing a bit more freely in here. So
so it's relative.
It's very relative. It's relative to the extent that something will be done, and local culture is of course local culture is also differently impacted by different nations, Egyptians from different regions of the Arab world, but all of them are using one word, inshallah, which could be interpreted as I wish it would happen, or I wish it would happen, but I know it won't.
So this might be tricky, especially when doing business or planning for the future.
That's right. For me, my usual, let's say, rule of thumb is have 10% or 20% adjustment over the time and be able to manage those free times and the free spots and have something always to do within the, let's say, half an hour period when somebody's when you are waiting for somebody.
So it's also, from what I understand, it's also about working on yourself in order to embrace the culture and get used to those differences and to align a little.
It's not a little. It's not a little. It's a lot, but it pays off. It really pays off because eventually you speak the language. You get into the culture. You know, when in Rome, do as Romans do, right? Yeah. So you adjust and you eventually work it towards your favor.
Perfect. And speaking of business, a part of what UAE is becoming to be known is the emergence of blockchain technology. How do you perceive the blockchain technology and why do you think Dubai, for example, is striving to become like a capital of the emergence of specifically these technologies?
I think it's the perfect place for developing high growth technologies. Money in here is relatively easy to get financed. People are coming here with great ideas, and usually people coming here and striving here, they can work hard, and they do work hard. So that kind of a combination puts you in a very high spot or top spot for getting good investments. And people in here are happy to invest and ready to invest because of, let's like simplify it. I mean, of course, their money is coming from natural resources mostly, and those natural resources are depleted every year. Especially Dubai is now getting smaller and smaller percentage of income to the budget from oil and gas. So it's very clever to invest in various other businesses. So one of the businesses before blockchain was a medical or let's say healthcare industry, which is booming here. And it's not only, let's say, treating injuries, but also medical or more advanced procedures, but also the beauty procedures. So that is let's say, specialists or a business here is also good with those kind of services. And the next step, the next big boom is, of course, crypto and or the whole blockchain. Because it's new, it's high growth, it's adventurous, and people here everybody likes adventure, but in here it's especially nice to invest in something that moves your heart. So so it's like people are they are invested both money-wise but also emotionally. That's also a different between I think Europe and this place. And of course, one of the key things to remember is being very, let's say, nice when it comes to a tax. So
yeah, nice is a great word and very diplomatic here.
Yeah, I mean, it can change, of course, but as for now, it's the tax regime is very preferential. So considering opening a company or having your having your profits capitalized, I think this place is a very good place to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of the investments, we spoke a little about the motivations of people around Dubai or in the UAE in general, that they are not investing only with their money, but they are investing with their heart. So I'm wondering, what is your recipe for a good investment? What are you looking specifically in the projects? What is your perspective on how you evaluate what could be a good investment?
I see, let's take a step back. Whenever I put money in, I see all the streams of or assets or group of assets as a stream, as a cycle. So in each phases of the cycle, different assets will perform better or worse. So when we have easy money, when the
cheap money, you mean?
I don't want to say cheap.
With the low interest rates?
Yeah, with the low interest rates, right? So then is the perfect time for growth companies, for startups, and for investing and believing in a very emotional product, in the journey to like onboard people who can support you further. And that's how I invest, right? So I tend to look at two major factors, which is an inflation and the delta, so how GDP of US is behaving.
Mm-hmm.
And based on those, let's say, quadrants for let's say, different regimes, I do invest in then different types of assets. But also, like the most important thing, so okay, let's assume this is a model, but also what I take heavily into consideration is a policy. So
mm-hmm.
how central banks are releasing money, how they are becoming in depth, what is the production of money, what is the velocity even. So that's something that is telling me which group of assets can perform better, and that's how I invest. Yeah, but
yeah. Okay, that's great. So can we go even further into this concept? Because I'm wondering, supposedly that a couple of our of founders are listening to this podcast. So what tips would you give to the founders building their projects, or what kind of specific elements in a certain projects, provided that they are within your investment strategy,
mm-hmm.
Should they be focusing on? Like, what are the highlights for you that determine maybe the first decision, go or no go? So whether I analyze it further or not.
Sure.
That's it.
So I think the first, okay, I am a bit biased because I prefer Polish products.
Okay.
Which, but that also is kind of egoistic from my side, because I when
patriotic. Let's put it.
I want to tell, okay, you call it patriotic. I say it egoistic. Why? Because when I speak Polish, Polish is language is a tool, so it helps me to assess people. And of course, you can produce any roadmap you like. You can put any number in an Excel. But then you when you talk to people, when you look them into eyes, you see whether someone is shaky. Yeah. Or someone is really trying to deliver something, even though he may not deliver, but at least there is a will, there is a hard work, there is mm-hmm. a passion, and then that's what I'm first looking for in a team. Then, of course, whether the team skills and structure of the whole project will, in my opinion, of course, benefit goal. So whether we will reach the goal based on what kind of resources the team has. And of course, what kind of, let's say, capital that is engaged. Mm-hmm. So, and leaving aside the whole product, whether the product makes sense or not, but
I believe it has to some extent. It has.
I mean, that's
basic, the obvious. Right? That's the fundamental part.
That's right. That's something that it doesn't make sense. Whatever team you will have, it will just not deliver. Sure. Or you will not eventually sell it. So yeah, I look at people, and my experience from Big Four when I was doing forensics projects is really helping me, including some trainings on behavioral of people and how they speak, when they speak, and let's say the assessment of emotions of people is really helping mm-hmm. me to do that.
Okay, so we discussed a little business. We discussed blockchain. Now is the time for the big king, which is Bitcoin. So would you mind sharing with us your story and how you got into Bitcoin, how you get to know about Bitcoin, and what made you actually survive and stay in this industry and in this investment thesis actually? Mm-hmm. What happened that you didn't get spooked because of many volatility in the asset and a lot of market turmoils in general?
It's a loaded question, but let's start with the first thing. And I need to give credit to my wife. She convinced me to do the first investment in Bitcoin. Right. So
amazing credits.
Yeah, that was great. And I believe in a strategy that you need to get some skin of yourself in the game, and then you educate yourself with that. So after initial investment, I started to read, started to understand everything, and of course, it really feeds into my vision of investment of a cycle. So I see that when the money was easier to obtain, then that also fed into the, at the time, perceived as higher growth, higher risk assets, like Bitcoin and also later on altcoins. And why I didn't got out of it? Because it's making money. It's fitting my portfolio perfectly. It's volatile, but I accept this volatility. Consider myself still a younger guy, so not bonds, not yet at least bond investor. And I mean, in the situation when okay, but speaking a bit more, let's say seriously. In a situation when the Federal Central Bank of US is producing a lot of money, they're maybe not right now, but still looking in the long run, they will keep printing it, and they're increasing the debt hugely. Like you would not like. I have no idea why we don't talk about it more.
It's around 120%
of
to GDP.
Yeah. That's right, and that's some people consider this already like a Rubicon. So it's like crossed, and there is no coming back. So in those conditions, every asset that will give you some kind of safety will benefit. Bitcoin is one. I perceive it like that, and I think people also perceive it like that. On top of that, it's a currency. You can pay. You can use it for payments. So assuming that there will be even more, let's say, worsening. Let's say worsening of a dollar. Then every other currency that is behaving better, that has better fundamentals, then that currency will be preferred. That's how it should work. Of course, we have a lot of regulations, we have a lot of policy and politics and narratives around it, but in healthy situation, that's how it should be. So that's why I have Bitcoin. I believe in it. Not only believe, because believe is not like an investment process, but I know a lot about fundamentals. I know a lot about how it should behave in cycles, what kind of type of asset is it, how it's perceived also by Wall Street. So it's not perceived as something exotic right now, it's perceived as a commodity, which also behaves nicely when we have certain inflation, certain flow of money. So I think everybody should have a Bitcoin, really.
That's a great tip. Do you have any others for the ones that are actually jumping on the ship right now, or they will decide or they will hesitate to do this in the next couple of weeks or months or so? Because I believe we are starting to see this uptrend move, and this will be definitely an impulse for a lot of people to actually look into Bitcoin and crypto in general.
Correct. First tip is the sooner the better you will invest in it. I mean, the sooner the better. That's for now. I'm speaking this moment. The sooner the better.
Just a short disclaimer. This is not a financial advice, but
that's how I advise people. And I thought, okay, that was a good disclaimer. Second thing is that you don't have to do any expensive trainings for it. Get education that is freely available on YouTube. See how to store it, see how to buy it. It's like 5 hours of your time, but it will pay off greatly in a year or two. And be able to hold it, be able to be emotionless when it comes to investment like that. Don't put a lot in it, put money that you are able to lose. And I think in a year or two, be happy with your profits. That's at least how I see it.
That's great. That's pretty amazing insight. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was a true pleasure. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If so, then please give us a like, subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much, Leszek, once again.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Pleasure.